In today's video, I'm going to break down the best PALs for each job in Palworld. I'm going to list all of the different jobs and the different PALs that are kind of best for this. So first of all, what makes a good PAL in Palworld to do a job? Well, although it might seem really good if a PAL has a lot of different skills, this is actually kind of not that good. So if we go into my PAL box here, we can see this guy here, this bushy here, can do fire, handwork, I think that's something to do with plants. You can do logging, so cutting down trees, and it can also do like transportation. Now, this might seem really good at first, but it's actually not that good because it means that they are going to get distracted by all of these different tasks, so they're not going to focus on one task. Instead, I found it's a lot better to find PALs which can focus on single tasks. Overall, this should make it more efficient and, you know, you get more stuff done. So let's talk about what the best PALs are for each job. So the first off is the best PAL for kindling. So the overall best PAL for this would be Jormuntide Ignis. Now, when you see this PAL, this is one of the only PALs that has just fire as its working thing. They often also have mining or lumbering with them, but this is one of the ones that one of the only ones that has just flame. So this is like a really good one. He's got level 4. If you've not got this, then you could go for Ragnarhawk. It's a level 3 kindling level, and the other job that it has is transporting. So it's not an awful secondary job, it's kind of always useful, but yeah. The next one you can get is Phalaris, which is a level 3 kindling, and it can also do transporting. And the last one is Reptyro, which has level 3 kindling, and its secondary job is mining. So the next one we're going to talk about is watering. Now, there's a lot of different PALs that actually can do watering, but they often have other things that they can do as well. So one of the keys to actually making this efficient is placing your crusher and other stuff that needs watering in locations where the PALs are actually going to see them. So the best PALs for this, number one, we have the Jormuntide again. It's level 4 watering and it doesn't have any other jobs. Next up we have Azarobe. This is level 3 watering and it has no other jobs. Next we have Bronkery Aqua. So this is a level 3 watering and also has no other jobs. And then lastly we have Suzaku Aqua, which again is level 3 and has no other jobs. So all of these guys are just going to be able to solely focus on watering in your base. So either watering your plants or your crusher is a good job for them. Now next up we've got planting, and when it comes to planting, it's actually kind of useful to have a PAL that has more than one job. And the reason for this is because once the crops have been planted, there's going to be a little bit of waiting time for them to grow, so it's useful for them to do something else while they're waiting for it to grow. So with that being said, the number one we've got is the Lylene. It's got a level 4 planting level, and it can also do handiwork, gathering and medicine production. Next up we have Bronkery. It's a level 3 planting level. This one doesn't have any other jobs, so although it's got a good planting level, it won't be able to do anything when it's waiting. Next up we have Petalia. It's level 3 planting, and it's also good at handiwork, gathering, medicine production and transporting. And lastly we have Violet, which is level 2 planting, which is good at handiwork, gathering, medicine production and transporting as well. Next up we have Generating Electricity. This is one of the easier jobs to get PALs to do because they tend to just stick at doing it. You can see I've got this guy here. He has literally not moved from this station at all, so this is getting a lot of power, which is great. So the best PALs for this are Orzhok, Relaxarus Lux, Grisbolt and Beacon. Now first of all, Orzhok has level 4 electricity gathering or generating. The other jobs it has is handiwork and transporting, but as I said, it doesn't really get distracted. We have Relaxarus Lux, which is level 3 generating electricity, and its other job is transporting. Next we have Grisbolt, which is level 3 electricity, and it can do handiwork, lumbering and transporting. And lastly we have Beacon, which is level 2 electricity, and it also can do gathering and transporting. But as I said, if you throw this down here, it kind of doesn't get distracted, it just gets stuck to it and just stays there. This guy has just been there for ages. And as I say that, it just started slacking off. Nice. Next up we have PALs for handiwork. Now handiwork's a bit of a weird one because obviously you don't really need handiwork that much, only if you're crafting specific things. Now it can be useful if you're crafting things in bulk. So the number one, the best PAL for this is Anubis, but obviously this is quite hard to get. He's got level 4 handiwork level, and he can also mine and transport. Now, once you take him away from the mining, because that's what he kind of likes to do, if you put him next to some handiwork benches or whatever, he's going to, you know, be so fast. It's going to be really worth it. Obviously, it's quite hard to get. So next up, we've got Lylene. That's a level 3 handiwork level. They can also do planting, gathering, and medicine production. Next up, we have Lunaris, which is level 3. They can also do gathering and transporting. And lastly, we have Vixen, which can do level 3 handiwork and also does kindling and transporting. Next up, we have gathering. Now, gathering again is one of those things that kind of needs to be done in short bursts unless you've got some kind of mining or like farming base. Now, the best one to go for in the case that you do would be Frostallion or Frostallion Noct. That's going to have level 4 gathering and it has no other job, so it'll literally just focus on that, which is going to be really good at. Next up, we have Jet Dragon. So that's a level 3 gathering and it has no other jobs. Then we have Verdash, which is level 3 gathering. It also can do planting, handiwork, lumbering, and gathering, obviously. And lastly, we have Grintail, which is level 2 gathering and it has no other jobs. So those are the good options. If you want one that can do other stuff as well, I'd recommend going for Verdash because it's going to be able to do stuff while it waits. Next up on the list, we have lumbering, and this is one of the tasks that can kind of be done infinitely, and you need a lot of wood for all the stuff in Palworld. So this is kind of an important one. These are the best pals for lumbering. Number 1, we have Wumpo. This is a level 3 lumbering level. You can also do transporting, handiwork, and cooling. Next we have Wumpo Bottom, which is level 3 lumbering again, which can do planting, handiwork, and transporting. Next we have Warsect, which is level 3 lumbering, and it can do planting, handiwork, and transporting. And lastly we have Bushy, which is level 3, can do kindling, handiwork, gathering, and transporting. So usually if you put these guys at the lumbering, they kind of just stick at it, and they don't really get too distracted because there's always stuff to do here. Next up, we have the best pals for mining, and I'd say this is probably by far the most important one, and one that you kind of want to prioritize because it's important for getting stuff like ores and all that kind of stuff. Now with this, there's, you know, these pals can mine anything, so they can mine pitstones or they can also mine ores. So you've got to kind of bear in mind that if you want them to mine ores, probably don't have a pitstone around because they're going to probably potentially mine that. So, you know, to try and keep the focus on one thing. With that being said, the best pal for this is Aestrogen. It's a level 4 mining level, and its other jobs is handiwork. So this means it can basically mine anything. Next up we have Blazemut. It's level 4 mining level. It can also do kindling. Next up we have Anubis, which is level 3 mining. It can also do handiwork and transporting. And lastly we have Ice Reptyro, which can do level 3 mining, and its other jobs are cooling. So those are the best ones to go for. I also like Digtoys just because the animation's kind of cool. Now next we have medicine production. This is exactly like handiwork, and that's because, you know, there's never like a demand for it all the time. So you kind of want some pals that can double up and do other things if possible. So here's the best ones that we have for it. So number 1 we have Felbat. It's a level 3 medicine production and it doesn't do any other jobs. So if you need to make a lot of medicine, that's a good one to go for. Next up we have Lylene Noct, which can do handiwork, gathering, and is also level 3 production level. Medicine production, that is. Next up we have just normal Lylene, which is a level 3 production of medicine, and it can do planting, handiwork, and gathering. And then lastly we have Violet, which is level 3 medicine production and can also do planting, handiwork, and gathering. Next up we have cooling, and cooling's kind of a little bit unnecessary in a way for this game. It's obviously you need it for incubation, but it's not really that useful for anything else other than that. But that being said, the best pals for this, you've got Frostallion, which is level 4 cooling and it does nothing else other than that. Next we have Ice Reptyro, which is level 3 cooling and it can also do mining, so it's quite a good combo. Next we have the Ice Kingpaca, which is level 3 cooling and it can also do gathering. And then lastly we have the Cryo-Lynx, which can do level 3 cooling and also handiwork and lumbering. Next up we have transporting, and transporting is kind of only really useful if you've got an ore farm. So the best tasks or the best pals for this task are Wumpo, which is level 4 transporting, and it can also do handiwork, lumbering and cooling. Next we have Wumpo Botan, which is a level 4 transporting. It can also do planting, handiwork and lumbering. Next up we have Dragosfi, which can do level 3 transporting. It does nothing else other than that. And lastly we have Phalaris, which is level 3 transporting, and it also does kindling. Now last but not least we have farming. Now it's kind of difficult to say what's the best PAL for farming because it depends what resource you're after. So you might need some eggs, you might need milk, you might need honey, you know, there's a ton of different things that you might want to actually farm. So it kind of depends on what you actually want to go ahead and farm. So for this one, I'll just give you a breakdown on what some of the pals do. Firstly, you've got Bee Guard, which is a level 1 farming, and this can get you honey. Next up we have Mozarina, which is level 1 farming again, and this can get you milk. Next we have Chikipi, which is level 1 farming and it gets you eggs. And we've got Malchrist, which is level 1 farming and also gets you gold. Now another one to add on here is Vixies. They can get you arrows and they can also get you power spheres, so they're quite useful early game. But that is the best pals for each job in Palworld. If you enjoyed the video and found it useful, be sure to like and subscribe and comment down below that helped you out. Thank you for watching.